Welcome back, everybody. This is Eric and Chad here with Iraq Veteran 8888. Today we've got a gun gripe episode for you here, and we are going to be discussing the Taliban confiscating guns in Afghanistan. All right, now we're not going to get into a ton of different things in this video, but I do want to touch on some points that I think are pretty important, and maybe you'll walk away with a little bit of a unique perspective as to how we feel about the situation. I'd like to take a moment to thank our friends at Firearms Legal Protection. You know, their legal services will actually protect you if you're involved in a personal defense situation, or if you have a red flag law thrown down on you and they come in and confiscate all your guns. They'll actually provide legal support, and they have really, really fair fees. So if that's something you've been looking to get into, some type of concealed carry insurance, I know there's different folks out there. Firearms Legal Protection is cool because they are very affordable and they kind of stick to the beans and bullets of the situation in terms of having their lawyers on call, ready to go. Some states consider it like a prepaid legal service, and then others consider it more of an insurance. But the way to think of it is certainly as a concealed carry insurance. So if you are involved in a shooting, they can get you, in the right direction, get you the legal representation you need. Make sure you use the code IV8888 over on Firearms Legal Protection. You'll get yourself a great discount if you'd like to try out their services. So we're going to get into this one, and it's not going to be what you think it is, okay? Because I don't want to talk about the social, political, economical paradigm that exists with something like nation building, right? I'm not going to get into why we were in Afghanistan, whether or not we belonged in Afghanistan. All of that stuff is irrelevant for this particular video. But what is important to recognize, right, is that U.S. forces left Afghanistan, and right now they are still, evacuating Americans and Afghan nationals as we speak. As this video is being cut, it's still a ongoing and dynamic situation that is unfolding before our eyes right now. A very tragic situation with a sad loss of life. Many Afghan civilians, literally clinging to the landing gear of airplanes and dying, falling off as the landing gear retracts. Such a sad state of affairs, and I hope that the Afghan people can find some closure and peace and try to find some resemblance of a normal life. But without getting too far into that, what have the Taliban done? They've taken over. They are now, as far as I can tell, they are the de facto, if not official government in Afghanistan now.
The former president turned power over to the Taliban recently.
The Taliban are going around door to door and saying, oh, well, you don't need guns. We're confiscating your guns because you don't need guns because we'll protect you. Wow. Okay, now that's not the United States, all right? So there's many people that would say, well, why do I need to care about this? Because that's all the way over halfway around the world. That's them, not us. Why should we care? We should care because that is the type of crap, the mentality that anti-gunners have here, right? They always tell you, oh, well, the police will always be able to protect you. You don't need to own a gun. What do you need to have that AR-15 for, right? So, do you really think that the intentions that they have are as pure as the simplicity of that statement? And do you think that politicians here and anti-gunners here in this area would not do the same thing if they were given the authority and ability to do so? That they would come door to door and say, you don't need this because we'll protect you. And how many times has it ever ended well when the government says, we're from the government and we're here to help? Or we're from the government, we're here to help you or to save you or to protect you. Look at Katrina, right? The mayor, or whoever it was, or the governor in Louisiana said, take the guns. Mm-hmm. Take the guns. And what did they do in Katrina? They went door to door in military fashion like it was downtown Fallujah and kicked in doors and took people's guns.
Mm-hmm. Like martial law was implemented,
Yeah. So it's scary. It's a scary thing to think about.
It is frightening. And, seeing all the different news reports, the feeds have just been flooded with news out of Afghanistan. And not only like official reporting, from the larger networks, which, we all know how the larger networks are. You're not really sure what's propaganda and what you can believe or not. But a lot of the smaller, like independent journalists and such, they're putting out a lot of conflicting reports compared to what the Taliban has been putting out. Okay, and I want to make note of something. The Taliban still has a Twitter account, while Donald Trump does not, which I find very curious, But anyways, that's kind of beside the point. But you have an organization that now says, oh, hey, we're coming back into power, but we're nicer than we used to be. We're not going to put women down like we used to, or keep them out of getting an education. We're not going to marry them off to our fighters forcefully. We're not going to take children and put them into the sex trade. But there are reports of that exact thing happening. There are bodies lining the streets in places that the mainstream media isn't going to show you pictures of. There are reporters on CNN reporting from reporting on the scene with crowds of Taliban fighters behind them screaming "Death to America," but saying, "Oh, they're saying death to America, but it's pretty nice right now. I mean, they're being pretty nice." Like, what does that even mean?
I think that there is a clear and concise humanitarian debacle that is certainly unfolding before our eyes. God. And the point of my gun gripe today is that I just want people to understand that confiscating firearms will always be the first step to totalitarianism and to tyrants, right? Mm-hmm. What did Hitler do? He went around, took the guns, right? What did Pol Pot do? Took the guns. What the Taliban doing? They're taking guns, right? So no matter how we feel about this situation, history tells us, okay, this is not just conjecture. This is not me just, wanting to prove a point. This is just reality, right? But history proves that anytime a regime takes guns from the civilians, it will not end well.
Ends in genocide.
It ends in genocide. It ends in total control. It ends in like the Uyghurs.
The Uyghur Muslims in China.
The Muslims in China. When you don't have a means to protect yourself from anyone, let's just say, be it a criminal trying to rob you, or this group of people trying to completely take away your way of life and very much your life, it doesn't end well. And anyone that doesn't want the civilians to be able to stand up on the same plane as them, it's questionable at best. And for them to say, "Oh, well, you don't need guns, we'll protect you." Yeah. I mean, now, I don't doubt for 1 second that they wouldn't protect people, of course, just as any government would do. Are they going to protect some people more than others? Are they going to choose favorites? Are they going to go, "Oh, well, you belong to this sect of people, so we're going to protect you, but you people, we don't like y'all, so we're only going to protect the people we care about." So you have considerably less options when you don't have firearms to protect yourself. Mm-hmm. And the United States is a nation of laws, but we're also a nation of God-given rights that have been enshrined and most certainly valued and protected by a majority of people. We engage in using our rights and exercising our rights every single day, even if we don't know it. When you get on Twitter and you fire off that hot tweet, you are exercising your First Amendment rights to say what you want, right? When you go to a gun store and you buy a hunting rifle, say all you're going to do is go hunting, and you don't even, all you're thinking about is going and hunting a deer or whatever. You're still exercising your ability to own a firearm. And any person, government, whoever, that would take away your ability to do that is not your friend. Mm-hmm. That's the only point I really wanted to make in this particular video. I mean, it's a scary environment. Who knows what the future for the region is going to hold? And who knows what our involvement is going to be? And who knows if we're going to wind up right back in the same situation all over again in some other type of environment. But I didn't want to really make it about that. I just thought it was a unique observation that the Taliban have already started confiscating guns from the civilians.
Well, given the speed that they move through the country, which was a true insurrection, if you will, they literally just swiped across the country and just took everything back over. And they had no resistance. I mean, the Afghan army just laid down their arms and said, "Bye, see ya, we're out of here."
Or dissolve back into the Taliban.
Or, yes. There was a meme I saw that was pretty humorous. It's the Homer Simpson meme where he goes into the bush and he's dressed, he's got the Afghan flag and it's got his gear and stuff on. He sinks into the bush and comes out with a beard and an AK and a robe or whatever. I did get a chuckle on that. But, I mean, it's like there's a lot of truth in memes. I mean, so how many of them literally just said, "Yeah, well, all right, hey guys, what's up?" So just to piggyback and expand a little bit on what Eric is mentioning here, there is a humanitarian crisis definitely unfolding. Okay, I mean, but given the past history of organizations like the Taliban, and their persecution of, just for example, religious groups. All right, so what is it going to mean for some Christian organizations, just for example, that made a refuge in Afghanistan to witness for God, okay, or other religious groups that are witnessing for their chosen higher powers, whatever the case is. The Taliban and other Islamist groups like that are very strict, and ooh boy, stomach is growling over here. I'm kind of hungry. It's getting lunchtime.
That's right. It's getting lunchtime.
But at what point do they say, well, like, we're not going to bother you and we'll protect you as long as you meet all these criteria? Okay, just like they have in the past. And groups like the Taliban also, they have no patience for LGBTQXYZ. They have no room for that in their
Sharia law.
Yeah, in their laws, whatever the case is. There's no room for that. So in the past, those type of people, all right, have been strung up. I mean,
so them going around and collecting guns from everyone, do you think that they're really going to protect Christians?
So that's
protect them.
Yeah.
Huh?
I mean, maybe they'll hold true on their word, but I see it as just propaganda. And for them to be collecting arms from citizens, it's a scary prospect, because you're basically turning over your weapons at gunpoint, more or less. You have militants coming to your home saying, hey, we need to confiscate your firearms at gunpoint. They're taking them forcefully. And if you don't comply, then what's happening? Is the media reporting on what's happening to people who refuse? Is that really getting out there yet? I'm sure we'll see reports of it in the future. But it's insane to think about that we're witnessing a historical milestone right now, and it may shape the region for many, many years to come. And it's just crazy to think, how much is going to come out of this, and what an embarrassment it is for the administration.
One thing I'd like to just mention quickly before we wrap up the video is
I'm
also the control of information is a very scary thing too. You look at the censorship and everything that's going on right here in the United States. You look at all these large social media platforms. I mean, the Taliban have a presence on Twitter, but President Trump doesn't? Come on.
Yep.
Come on, man. Isn't that what Biden would say? Come on, man.
Come on, man.
But look, here's the thing, right? If they're willing to hide views that they don't agree with, how do you know that if one day, let's just say in the United States, they wound up undergoing some mass confiscation campaign? Let's just compare it to what the Taliban are doing. Now, it's two different places, different people.
Two different cultures.
It's two different cultures.
Yep.
So we're not trying to, make scare anyone. But let's just say, in theory, if that were to happen here, do you really think that the flow of information that you would get in regards to what was going on in that mass undertaking, that you'd be told the truth, right? Are you even being told the truth about everything that's happening over there, right? If they have their own state-owned media and their own reporters and all of that stuff, they're going to cherry pick very, very, very carefully what to tell you about, what to show you, in order to gain some form of sympathy from the rest of the world. They're not going to show you all the terrible things they're doing. So that's important to remember, is that when they control the information in such a concise way, it mirrors the control that they're going for here, right? Dissenting voices, people they don't agree with. They call it misinformation. Oh, you've been fact-checked and you're putting out misinformation. Therefore, we're going to censor you. My Facebook page of 800,000 followers was unpublished with no explanation, right? It can happen to anybody. And what? Simply because I don't toe their political narrative and I don't agree with their politics, and I have views that are my own views, and I have a certain type of respect and love for America and liberty that they don't share. Therefore, we just need to get rid of this fly in the ointment. That's the danger. Mm-hmm. That is just something to consider, that if some mass confiscation event were to happen here, you're never going to be told the truth. You're never going to get all the facts. And whatever you do see on the media, they're going to demonize the very people they hate. Very much in the same way that if a government has all the guns and they go, well, we'll protect you. Are they really going to protect everyone? Or are they going to do what nations have always historically done and single out groups of people that they hate very, very much and do very, very terrible things to them? That's all I'm trying to say.
I mean, look at the state-run media in China. I mean, you can't trust anything that comes out of there. It's just literally pure propaganda. I mean, so how are we to trust anything that comes out of Afghanistan from here on out?
I know.
You know? I mean,
China did say one thing that I agree with, though.
What's that?
Well, I don't agree. Well, they are right. You can't call them on this as being incorrect. So the state-ran media in China put out
oh boy,
a little jab, okay, and they said that the Taliban taking over Afghanistan was a more smoother ran operation than the change of presidents in 2020.
It's not untrue.
And, you have to give them credit there. They're not wrong.
But, so moving forward, though, how many of the reports, even if they come from so-called independent media outlets, like, are they going to allow CNN, MSNBC, Fox, are they going to allow them to have correspondents on the ground in Afghanistan covering this without being force-fed information that they're allowed to put out? You know, you just don't know.
How do you know that their presence is even allowed, period, without them being in physical danger of, loss of life and limb or worse?
Exactly. I mean, all we can do is just sit back.
Or taken as a political prisoner.
Yeah. All we can do is sit back and watch things unfold at this point, which is just crazy. It's still just insane to me.
Just remember that someone that wants to take away your firearms is not your friend. No matter what they say. And that was the main point that I really wanted to drive home in this particular gripe. I thought it was worth mentioning. It does relatively end the gun control debate. Okay, you've got a government here in the United States that thinks that I'm not good enough to protect myself with an AR-15, that my family isn't important enough to defend my family's life with an AR-15. They want to restrict my ability to have whatever gun that I deem necessary to protect my family. But yet they're going to go over there and put all that military hardware out there, knowing dang well where it's going to end up. Mm-hmm. Fast and Furious 2.0. Right?
Look, I have a point to make. See if you agree with me or not. All right. So, in all the photos that you've seen of the Taliban recently, after they've discovered these caches of weapons, all right, did they keep their AKs or did they upgrade?
Okay. That's a great question.
Hey, I mean,
some pictures that I've seen, they seem to have upgraded to the M4s over the. That's a great question. Over the AKs.
Is it
I've seen some of them still running their AKs and stuff, but I have seen some of them carrying around saws and M4s. Which I mean, if you have an M4 with an ACOG or an old Soviet AK with iron sights, I'm pretty sure you'd prefer the M4.
Yeah, the last one I saw was it was an M16A4, with the quad rail on the front with a 4-power ACOG on it, and it had a collapsible stock on the rear instead of the full-size stock and all. And I'm thinking, I mean, yeah, okay.
I think I'd rather have that over the AK any day. But, they got an upgrade. And, people are saying, oh, well, the Taliban aren't smart enough to fly Apaches or drive tanks. They're sure enough doing it. There's video of them flying Apache helicopters around that the U.S. taxpayers just, here you go.
Now, the question will be, all right, how will they support all that gear in the future without, armories full of replacement parts and, machinery to turn certain parts that they need for these military vehicles and such like that, or just the parts themselves,
It will be curious to see how quickly they all break down.
But, anyways, but it is a travesty. Like, all that equipment was left over there, but yet, like you mentioned, politicians here don't want you owning the same hardware that the military could use, but yet they're going to allow it to fall into a potential terrorist organization's hands who harbored Al-Qaeda back in the day, and we know what Al-Qaeda did. I mean, so,
it doesn't make sense at all.
It's a certain conflict of interest for sure.
Anyways. It is, but really, the gun control debate is over.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, as far as I'm concerned, that, the argument's over. That right there should just put it to bed forever. Especially, a lot of them are getting brought over here as refugees or whatever. I mean, how many of those people are hardline Sharia law kind of people? How many of those folks are going to commit terrible acts? How many of those people can't be trusted? I mean, there's a lot of very scary things going on, and what type of strict scrutiny are they going to be getting put through? I mean, all right,
if any.
So if you're a politician that lives in a gated neighborhood with armed guards and crap, are those people going to get moved in next door to you? No, not in a million years. But if they were, do you not think that they'd be checked out head to toe and every little tiny, I dotted and T crossed in regards to their background and who they are and what they're about? But they'll dump them somewhere else to let the peons and the peasants worry about it. That's what this all comes down to. It's about if you're in the club or if you're not. And, then when the people in the club want your guns, it's not for your benefit. I can most certainly promise you that. So just keep it in mind. All I'm saying is there's always two sides to every story. There's three sides to every story. There's the truth, and then there's what each side says is the truth. So always look for the truth as best you can. Seek out information. Think. Use your logic. Use your brain. Use your instincts. And ask yourself if you truly believe what you're being told in certain situations. And most importantly, never give up your guns. That's what I really wanted to get at in this particular gripe, I hope that the citizens in Afghanistan can find some form of peace in some way. And maybe, some form of a life that's worth living for them and a future that is bright for them. I'm not going to claim to know everything or claim to know all the answers, but we hope that things wind up okay. And all we can do is, at this point, just sit and watch and see what happens and hope for the best and hope that a humongous humanitarian crisis does not unfold and get way, way worse. And that's all we can really do. So, guys, thanks for watching today's Gun Gripe. I know this one was a pretty serious topic, so we want to try to keep our ear to the ground on things that are going on here in the States. Obviously, we've done a couple of bill videos and things like that. So it's important that we, pay attention to what's going on. But the world stage is important to acknowledge and recognize and see when those power plays are made that our government very much wants to do the same thing. So when you see that thing going on, don't think that they're not thinking, well, we could confiscate guns. They're getting ideas. So just keep it in mind. Have a good day. We really appreciate you watching. We've got many more videos on the way. Big thank you to all of our Patreon supporters, those of you who purchase man cans. Also, if you want to support the channel, go over on Ballistic Ink, pick yourself up a t-shirt. Those are the ways that you can support us directly. Have a good one, and I hope everybody stays safe, and keep your eyes peeled and your head on swivel, and it's all going to be okay.
Ooh. See you guys. I got to get some food.